Welcome to Layers of Communication with your host, Lydia Taggart. Life presents experiences that add a layer to who we are and how we see the world, affecting how we communicate. Lydia is here to help you take apart the layers and create new ways to connect and build relationships. So now, please welcome the host of Layers of Communication, Lydia Taggart.
Hello, all my friends. Welcome to Layers of Communication. I'm your host, Lydia Taggart. I'm so happy for you to be here today. Just can't even express how excited I am for you to be here and participate in this really awesome show today. Today we're going to be discussing the trust versus betrayal. Okay. Now, if I had something stuck in my teeth and you knew about it and you didn't tell me, that's a betrayal, right? It's embarrassing. So many people do it so many times. You're like, go home and you look in the mirror and you're like, how long has that been there? Why didn't anybody tell me? Oh, how embarrassing. Did so-and-so see it? And everyone that you've seen or spoken with since lunch becomes a target for betrayal. And you don't know who it is that saw it and ignored it and betrayed you, and that trust factor that they all just get pinged as betrayal. And that trust that you've been building kind of diminishes a little bit, right? If you see something in my teeth, please tell me. I really want to know. I really, really want to know. I don't know why we don't tell people when we see something like that. We don't want to offend them. We don't want to embarrass them. And it's not just when we have something stuck in our teeth. It's when we're making a bad choice or when we see something. If you're walking along and your neighbor doesn't wave and smile at you the way they usually do, my neighbors always wave and smile, so that's where I'm coming from with that. If I wave and smile at them, they wave and smile back. And if somebody goes kind of half wave instead of their normal smiley big wave, then I'm like, how are you today? What's going on? And that builds trust. Just noticing these little things and being there for someone is not something that happens overnight. It's like we've got a scale, a weight, right? And on one side is betrayal, and on the other side is trust, building trust. And if you keep tipping it and putting more on the one side, that's the side that wins. And you can decide, I can trust them. They're there for me. They got my back. But it's not from big experiences that build trust. You need the trust before those big experiences so you know who to trust when those experiences need someone who you can trust to be there. Okay, I hope that made sense. And betrayal is the same way, but it feels heavier when someone betrays us because it's stark contrast to what we really need. We hope that someone will help us, and when they don't, it hurts. Okay. And it's all the little things like family, okay? Let's talk about our kids. If we make them lunch every day, and then one day we just decide we're not ever making them lunch, but we didn't tell them. And they get to school and they're like, oh, where's my lunch? I just have an empty lunchbox. They're betrayed. That's broken their trust. And it's not moments of trust and moments of betrayal. They're the same moment. You have to choose which one you're going to do. And most of the time when we betray someone, it's not intentional, most of the time. So if I had something stuck in my teeth and you didn't tell me about it, I am going to believe that you just didn't want to embarrass me. Maybe you didn't notice. Maybe I didn't smile big enough, or it was hidden by something else. Maybe you were looking at my eyes and you didn't notice my teeth. There's all sorts of possibilities. And that's one way to curb the betrayal. Think, what else could it be, right? It doesn't have to be just they chose to betray me or they chose to not build that trust. There's a lot of different options. And I want you to know it is never too late to build better trust. It's never too late. this weekend I was presenting, and my audience was completely different than what I had planned for. So all the stories that I was going to share, all of everything was like, oh, does it really apply? Let's choose something else. And I loved that because I got to trust myself and practice this trust in my higher power, that Heavenly Father, what do I need to share here today? And trust that something would come up that I could share that would be of value to this audience and not the one that I thought was going to be there. And that was really fantastic. But this is why I'm sharing this with you today, because the story that I shared, one of the stories that I shared, I had never shared with anyone ever before. And it's a pretty big, major story about betrayal, when I was betraying my children. And I think I have a really great relationship with them now. I mean, we have a great relationship with every one of my kids. My 17-year-old, fantastic relationship there with his Asperger's, and everything is just awesome, awesome relationship that we have there. My 16-year-old, amazing relationship with my 16-year-old. And all of the quads, all 4 of my 13-year-olds, they are really open with me. We connect, we apologize, they forgive me. They have forgiven me for all of the times that I've betrayed them. And I've come to be able to forgive myself too. So this story, it's kind of funny to think about it now, but at the time, so not funny, so not funny. My ability to cope and deal with everything was just not really very good. And at the time, I was really, really depressed and dealing with a lot of situations that, looking back now, I'm like, wow, how did I get there? That's kind of crazy. But, I was thinking, how raw can I get with you? I'm going to get I just share everything with you, because I think this is a really key factor, to know that you're forgiven and that you've forgiven yourself, and that it's just part of who you are. It's part of your history. It's not your identity. This is not who I am. It's an experience that I've gone through, and I've grown from it. My family has grown from it. We are so awesome now. This is in the past, okay? And we can get through things and put it in the past. And when this story came up on Saturday to share with my audience there, I thought, oh, wow, never shared that before. I guess I'm done. I guess I forgave myself. I guess it's okay. And there was a gal sitting kind of near the front, and she was crying. And I thought, wow, this is a touching story. This is helping her. I'm connecting with her. And then later I thought, maybe she was crying for my children and how sad it would be, because the story was that I had a meltdown of my own at the grocery store. When we go to the grocery store, I don't know why I did this, but almost every time I went to the grocery store, I took all of my kids with me, because I couldn't leave them home alone, and people were helping us so much already. Anyway, I was at the grocery store, and I wasn't really prepared and good enough to do this that day, but we needed stuff. And so anyway, I'm there, and the kids start saying, Mommy, I want this, or I want that, or whatever. And Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. All 6 of them. I think the oldest was, Stephen was maybe 7 at the time, and probably 6. Anyway, doesn't matter how old they are, but they were there crying. I want this. One of them starts crying. They all start crying. Ah! And so I tried to get them to stop, but they couldn't hear me probably because everybody else was making a big fuss and we're making this big scene. And, you know, people see us anyway, go into a store with 6 little kids, little kids, and people look at you anyway. And so we're causing a scene, and I tried to get them to stop and they wouldn't stop. And I said, I'm done. You stop right now. We're leaving. I am leaving. Goodbye. And I turned and walked out the store. And I was like trying to deal with myself. And so I turned around to make sure they were following me, because I was hoping that they would, but I kind of was like in the back of my mind, maybe they wouldn't, but they better. And so I turned around, and sure enough, they had been following me, and I stopped to talk with them. And I didn't share this part at the conference on Saturday. I did stop to talk with them and like corral them all together, and I'm like, okay, now we're not in the grocery store. We left. Now we can talk a little bit better, right? And deal with it. And I always have treated my kids like they can understand me, even if they didn't communicate back to me. I know that they have understanding, even if they're not able to verbalize their own thoughts back to me. And that's really important, I think, for my oldest son with Asperger's. Anyway, as I turned around, I caught the eye of the security guard coming out after my kids. And then he turned back around and went back in the store too. So I was really glad that he decided that he wasn't going to arrest me or report me or whatever. But, you know, I was thinking that is some major betrayal. I was betraying my kids. And it wasn't the only time that I felt like I couldn't be there. I felt like they weren't my kids. I felt like they'd be better off without me. And I kind of wanted to leave this life. And so there were a few times that I walked away from my kids. And I didn't leave them. Like I said, I never left them. I would take a break, take myself away, catch my breath for a second, and then try to be better mom. But it was difficult. It was a hard time for me, and it was hard for my kids. And I can see how that has affected them in negative ways. One of my kids, he was suicidal for a while because, well, how could you not be if your mom is doing that, right? And you're dealing with the trauma of having 4 kids join your family. And then you get a teacher at school who thinks that you're just needing to be shut down because you're too much for her. And we had this really big deal of my son being suicidal. And I didn't realize until I was trying to help him that I was suicidal as well. I had all of those similar thoughts. I wasn't planning anything, but I sure believed that I shouldn't be here. And recognizing that I had it as well, that it wasn't just his problem, that it was our problem, well, that really started us turning around. And we started building trust. And we piled on all of these trust-building experiences instead of betrayal experiences. And we're still on the lookout for building more trust. You can never have too much trust. Never, ever have too much trust. Some people say you can have too much bacon. Some people say you can have too much ice cream. You can never have too much trust. And so that's why I love this weekend, being able to trust myself and sharing that story. Just a beautiful experience. But I wanted to make sure, as these stories get out there, you know, I had a discussion with my husband last night about sharing this, being out in the world. It's probably going to hurt some feelings of people who, like our friends, our neighbors, they didn't know that stuff like that was going on. And I don't want to make him look bad. He is so amazing. My husband, Steve, is just so amazing. He's always been there. When I would in the past start having these things about I'm going to be out of here, he stepped up and pulled me back. He never let me go. And I really appreciate that. Anyway, what it came down to was these are real stories. It's the truth. It is what happened. And there's not a way to change it because that's what happened. And if I'm okay with who I am and where I'm going, and I am happy with who I am now and who I'm becoming, and I'm happy that I can share and help other people who are dealing with similar situations. I'm so happy to be a parent coach and to be able to teach parents tools to help their kids to communicate. And that's one of the biggest things that helps in this depression type of stuff, being able to communicate and know that you're not alone and it's okay. So it's okay to share these stories because they're real. And it's the little things. We're going to wrap up here. Just remember, if you have a moment of anything that you can build trust with, go ahead and take that opportunity. Don't worry that they're going to be embarrassed if you point out that they've got a piece of spinach stuck in their teeth. They're going to go home and think, why didn't you tell me? How long has that been there? And it does not help to ignore it. It causes problems because then they think, who saw it? Who didn't tell me? How embarrassing. And then it's embarrassing. If you say, hey, there's a little something right there, and they go, oh, and then it's done and it's past. But if you don't tell them and they go home and they find it and they're like, oh, how long has that been there? And then it's a whole thinking process and worrying about who saw it. Did my boss see it? Did that cute guy that I want to impress, did they see it? It's important to let people know when you're paying attention to them, right? And that's kind of what it comes down to, is paying attention to our people around us. If you're paying attention, then you're building trust. If you're turning away from them, it's a betrayal. And so what's another example? Here's another example. If someone comes to you, my son comes to me all the time, and he says, how does this look, Mom? Does this fit? Am I growing out of it? Don't just answer. Look at them and then answer. Maybe the answer is the same every time. Maybe you don't want your spouse or your partner to be like, oh, that's a loaded question. Do I say that it doesn't look good? Oh, then I might get in trouble because I say you don't look good. But if you're going to say your partner looks good no matter what, at least look at them so they know you're paying attention to them instead of just saying they look good. Take that moment it's just a moment. It's so brief to turn and look and say, I see you. Yes, you look fantastic. It fits great. My kids are teenagers. They're growing pretty fast. So many times I say, hey, that might be the last time you get to wear that outfit. You're growing out of it. And that's okay. That's okay. Find something to show that you're paying attention. Another one, favorite foods. Yesterday, our schedule is kind of crazy this week. We got a lot going on this week. It's near the end of school. We're doing performances. And anyway, two of my kids, my two oldest, were at a school event until 5:30, and they had to be back for their next thing at 6:30. They had about an hour, but it turned out, it always goes late. And so They had about 30 minutes to, okay, now this is what's getting me emotional. Isn't that funny? The story about betrayal and leaving my kids, I'm okay with that. I'm not emotional about that one so much anymore, but this one is fresh. So it is just silly, but it's a moment of building trust. So these two boys, I couldn't remember who liked which thing at the fast food place because they only have so much time. I would bring them food, and we're going to come and watch them perform in a concert that night, but it didn't start until 7. So I knew that my oldest boy likes Arby's roast beef sandwiches. He's kind of particular. It's part of his Asperger's stuff. He's like, this is what I like. And so I knew what he wanted. And I couldn't remember what my second son, Dallas, I couldn't remember what he liked. And so I thought, well, let's just get him the same thing. We don't have to be complicated. Just get 2 of the same thing. And so that's what we did. And then we sat and waited for them for 15 minutes until they came out. But Dallas messaged me, thanks for the food, that was really good. And he told me at least 3 times, it was really great to have dinner. Thanks for bringing me food. To be there when they need something, and it doesn't have to be a big thing. That's building trust, and that's repairing betrayal moments. Oh my goodness. You can find an opportunity to build trust. The next thing we did that was building trust, we walked in as they're all standing on the stage, and we were kind of still walking in, and they had all the house lights up still. They didn't even turn them off this time. Dallas is standing up there with his trumpet and catches our eye. He sees us because we're standing up and all the lights are on. And so he does this little, yeah, I see you. You're here. That acknowledgement and appreciation. Okay, so one more thing. If we're dealing with betrayal and we want to build trust, if we've been betrayed and we want to build trust back up, gratitude is so powerful. Taking the moment to acknowledge, to be there, just be there. Oh my goodness, if you're there, you're there. You're halfway or more to having trust when you're there. But you've got to be present, not in your phone or a device or something else. Make that eye contact. Let them know, hey, I see you. You got here. You're right on time. We're just about to start. Showed up and you're on time. And thank you for bringing me dinner. So all these little things, right? And the gratitude. Acknowledging when you have blessings can pull you out of just about anything. All right, we're about out of time. So I just wanted to leave this with you. Remember, you are worth it, and so are they. Don't be afraid of offending someone for being honest and helpful. If you have good intentions and your heart is filled with love and good intentions, then there's nothing wrong with pretty much anything. If you're coming from a good place and you want good things to happen, even if they misunderstand it and they start flying off the handle and going crazy, you go, I meant to be good. I'm on your side. I gotcha. How can I help? This wasn't helpful. How can I help? And it's okay to apologize if there's a misunderstanding. It doesn't have to be like you've done something wrong. Hey, I'm sorry, there's a misunderstanding. Let's clear it up and fix it. Right? Okay. Gratitude, appreciation. Oh my goodness, be there, show up, and really remember that it's never too late. It is never, ever too late to build that trust and trust yourself. Okay, because you are worth it, and so are they. I'm Lydia Taggart. Thanks for joining me here today on Layers of Communication, and we'll see you later.
You've been listening to Layers of Communication with your host, Lydia Taggart. Tune in next week as we discover the layers in order to communicate and connect down to your core on Lydia Taggart's Layers of Communication.